Right, we have our former Attorney General Jeff Pine on the line. I don't know if you've been watching any of the live feeds from Salem, New Hampshire, but it appears there's something going on related to the mass shooting at Brown University. What's your assessment?
Hi, Patrice. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Yes, I have been following the coverage, and it appears that they've centered and focused on a storage facility. There's a large police presence. I'm guessing, without knowing, that they're trying to establish a plan of action because they may know in a general sense where this individual is, but a storage unit can get fairly complicated inside. They may not know a specific location for an individual. There obviously is a large police presence. This thing is moving in real time very quickly. They're not going to share a lot of information until they have something solid to report, but just the police presence and what is happening up in Salem tells me that they're closing in and trying to establish an exact location for somebody.
And Jeff, I want to ask you, we have the images at the storage facility right now. We just had them on the screen for you. But if we back it up a little bit to the day of the shooting, a lot has been made about the fact that there were certainly not enough cameras near where this shooting happened. As an attorney general, someone looking to prosecute the case, let's say this person is caught tonight. Does that make it more difficult to bring forward charges, the lack of cameras in the area where the shooting occurred?
Not necessarily if they have forensic evidence, and if they're, keep in mind the MIT shooting, the professor of that was shot up in Massachusetts, that becomes a second crime scene where evidence can be developed from that crime scene and compared to what they have developed from Brown, so that this could very well be a case based on what video surveillance they do have, in addition to any forensic evidence, ballistic evidence, DNA evidence, and other eyewitness corroboration if it does come forward. So it's not an impossible case by any means to make, even though the investigation itself was hindered at the outset by the lack of cameras in the right places or down the streets that this person fled to. So they were starting a little bit behind the eight ball, but that doesn't mean that the development over the last few days will not produce a very strong case.
Yeah, let's talk about that case and possible charges. So we're starting at Brown University and then going to Brookline, Massachusetts, where the MIT professor was murdered. And now we're in Salem, New Hampshire. We're crossing a lot of state lines here, aren't we?
Yes, but each state would have their own jurisdiction. I don't know that there's any crime that's being committed in New Hampshire. Obviously, there were multiple homicides in Rhode Island and a homicide in Massachusetts. That will all get sorted out once an arrest is made, and the various state officials will sort that out in terms of who gets priority. My guess is it will be Rhode Island and Brown, but that's just based on some experience with that. But it's interesting because it's playing out in real time, and there's obviously a huge police presence at a particular site, which tells you something. On the other hand, storage facilities can get a little complicated. There may not be great cell phone service inside, so they have to establish a plan of action on how to execute this.
And Jeff, I heard you mention the DNA evidence earlier. I know at one of the press conferences within the last few days, current Attorney General Peter Nerona mentioned that there was DNA evidence, but they weren't able to match it because this person wasn't in the database. What kind of DNA evidence, like how minute of DNA evidence can they now find at these scenes, and where are they likely even finding that DNA evidence from if the gunman came in, all covered up, fired off a few rounds, and then left? What kind of evidence might we be working with?
There could be DNA on shell casings. There could be DNA on any cartridges that were found or left discharged from the scene. Basically, it doesn't take a lot of DNA to develop a link to a particular individual. There's touch DNA if somebody touched a railing or a door handle, didn't have gloves on. So there's a lot of possibilities with that. My guess, based on the connection to MIT, is that they were able to develop an identical match to some evidence in Massachusetts.
And we're watching as we're talking to you, more video from Salem, New Hampshire, and we're seeing these officers go into this storage unit. Tell us what may be going on in there right now. I know these guys train for this kind of thing, where they may have to go from storage unit to storage unit to storage unit to see if he's in there.
And that's what I was referring to a couple of minutes ago, that these storage facilities, they're obviously well prepared on how to deal with this kind of situation, just as in many different situations that present themselves. But the fact that they're going in now means they have established a plan of action. They may know a specific location. They may not. They may be going up and down the hallways, but I'm sure they're heavily armed and very prepared.
And Jeff, based on what you're seeing tonight, what you're seeing unfold, are you optimistic that we're going to have a suspect, that this is going to be wrapped up within the next day or two?
It's moving very quickly. It could get, I'm sure you'll have some developments this evening. I don't think there'll be a press conference to announce anything until there's something tangible to announce. So you may have to wait in real time and watch how it unfolds. But once something happens, if somebody's taken into custody, then a lot of information will come forward.
Okay, Jeff Pine, the former Attorney General in Rhode Island, stand by. We may have to go back to you, but we want to go out to Dan Janig.